gesture that says, as I said in the movie, you know, we want the universe to know us, and then it gets into interstellar space. And we are now an interstellar species, and we will be going forever. Billions of years is essentially forever, and it's like as close to immortal as we will ever get. So this is the way we all felt. And when you just sit and remember, you participated in that, you were part of that, and you lived during the time when that happened. You just see what happens to people. It's a powerful feeling.
So, what year did you join the team?
I joined right after getting my PhD degree, and that was in 1983.
83. So, Voyager would have gotten a couple of flybys by then. I mean, a couple of gravity assists, right?
Jupiter and Saturn were over.
Were over. So you were Uranus and Neptune.
Yes.
By then. Okay. But you're still sort of genetically connected.
I'm genetically connected, I guess. I felt like I had been, you know, someone grabbed me by the hand and hauled me on the train for the greatest adventure that humanity had ever undertaken. It was fabulous. I lead a charmed existence.
So let me get a little bit of a buzzkill here.
Go ahead, try.
Before you tear up too much.
Okay.
So it seems to me to be a little bit arbitrary to go to the particle guy and say, oh, now Voyager has left the solar system, is now into stellar space. Because you're looking at a particle flux, magnetic particle flux. Is it being controlled by the sun's magnetic field or the magnetic field of the galaxy? And that transition is abrupt.
Yes.
Yes. So I get that. But beyond this is still the Oort cloud of comets that orbit the sun. So to say it has left the solar system, I don't care about the magnetic particle. I care about the sun's gravity, let's say. So. Okay, good. So it seems to me it's not going to exit the Oort cloud of comets until all of us are long dead. So that everyone picks something that worked, that would happen in people's lifetimes.
I think the statement as it reads, that we have entered interstellar space is accurate. You can say that because interstellar space is defined by the characteristics of the particles there in the magnetic field.
So
we are now sensing.
You're the particle people define it that way.
No,
I'm saying I'm a gravity guy. Okay, I'm not a particle guy. And I'm saying interstellar space is after it is beyond the last thing that's orbiting the sun. That's how I would define it. But it wouldn't happen until we're all dead. So it's not as fun a thing to talk about.
You come on, let's see what this guy I appreciate this. This is just two colleagues having a discussion. But you know, actually no one has ever mentioned this thing about the Oort cloud before. Somebody told me just recently that it basically escaped the gravity of the sun a while ago. But you bring out a good point because the Oort cloud goes on between here and the next star, which is a long remote distance.
Okay, so I think maybe the fair way to say this is that there are certain milestones that, when we go metric, what does that word become?
Meter stones.
Not
kilometer stones.
No,
See, there's some people who do miles, some people do kilometers.
That's
So
wonderful.
there's some people who do interstellar medium. Well, this is, no inequality here.
Well, that's my point. I'm about to make that point. So there are planet people who could say it has passed the orbit of Neptune and therefore left the solar system.
Left the planetary portion of the solar system.
Right, and then Neptune, the last planet of the solar system. But then there's like Kuiper Belt. Get past that, and then there's so everybody could have their checkpoints that they could celebrate. That's all.
It's still in the interstellar medium. All this means is that there are a whole bunch of Oort comets that also are in the interstellar medium.
So why are there two warriors?
Oh, well, you know, in those days, NASA was into redundancy. There often were two missions because in case one got lost, it didn't launch, this rocket blew up or anything. But it turned out to be a fabulous decision because we were able to, just because of the way everything worked out, we were able to do a very close flyby of Titan, which was a major target.
Like the moon of Saturn.
The moon of Saturn, the largest moon, the one that's got a thick atmosphere. We knew from the ground it had a thick atmosphere with methane, which is an organic compound, simple compound, in its atmosphere. There was a lot of anticipation of what we were going to find on Titan. And we were able to do a very close flyby with a particular kind of occultation where the telemetry signals of this, I think it was discussed here, the telemetry signals of the spacecraft were occulted by the atmosphere and then, of course, by the moon itself as the spacecraft passed behind Titan, as seen from the Earth. And this was an observation, a very elegant observation.
Just to be clear, to be occulted means blocked. It doesn't mean they're reading tarot cards. Okay. We're on the same page.
Okay.
The usage of this word.
Okay.
Astronomically, an occultation is something passes in front of us.
A blockage.
Yeah,
like an intestinal blockage.
Nice.
Not my first way to think about it, I suppose.
No, okay. Anyway, I'm just trying to be funny. So, anyway, this is an experiment that tells you about the structure of the atmosphere, how the pressure changes, the density changes with distance into the atmosphere, and with that kind of information and some knowledge of the composition, you can figure out the temperature on the surface. So we knew from this the pressure and the temperature on the surface. And these were vitally important things to know about Titan, and we got that with Voyager 1. And because we got that with Voyager 1, it also meant we had to sacrifice Voyager 1 and could not send it on to Uranus and Neptune. So Voyager 1 left the solar system on a northward asymptote, above the plane of the solar system. And Voyager 2, 9 months later, went on to look at other parts of the Saturn system and then could be targeted to Uranus and Neptune. We would have never gotten both of those if we only had one spacecraft. So it was just a fabulous decision.
Just remind me, are there only 4 rocky objects in the solar system with meaningful atmosphere?
Well, I don't know. That's
so we got
like Earth, Venus, Mars,
and Titan.
And Titan. Yeah, because everyone else is even more feeble than Mars.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think there's only 4. So that makes Titan that much more special.
Yeah, it is very special. In fact, we've learned with Voyager and follow on with Cassini, it's on its surface, in terms of its geological complexity, it's the body in the solar system that is most like Earth. So it's really a fascinating moon. Can I tell a little story about
Here for you. Here.
This is just one of those special moments during the Voyager mission. Yeah. So I'm a graduate student. I'm at JPL for the Voyager 1.
Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
You're a graduate student at Caltech.
A graduate student at Caltech.
Affiliated with JPL.
It runs the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So it's Voyager 1, and every day the project scientist Ed Stone, who is a prince of a man, and Voyager was the mission that it became really scientifically and just the spirit of it all because of him. He deserves every credit. Every day he would run these science meetings where whatever was discovered between that meeting and the meeting he had before would get presented. So principal investigators would come and talk about their results. And then this whole big room, I have a picture of one of these meetings, just chock full of people. And at one of these meetings, this was after this occultation I just told you about, the principal investigator announced that the conditions on Titan's surface were such that there could be liquid nitrogen on the surface of Titan. And this was wild. No one expected something like this, liquid nitrogen. We were just finding out that nitrogen was a major component. Nitrogen is a major component of this atmosphere we're in. It's another reason why Titan and the Earth are so similar. The structure of the atmosphere and the composition is pretty similar. So this notion that there could be liquid nitrogen on the surface of Titan, something out of a science fiction movie, spread like wildfire through the hallways and offices of Building 264, which is where everybody was gathered during these flybys. And it was crazy, you know, people would say, there's liquid nitrogen on the surface of Titan, and someone would go run off to tell the group down there in the hall, and then they would run off to tell somebody else. It was just crazy. And during that whole episode, I felt that all of Building 264 became the Starship Enterprise. And we were the crew. And we had just come upon, in our travels, we just come upon this alien world that had, you know, we're reading the signals from it, we're hovering over it, just like they do on Star Trek. And we're learning that there's liquid nitrogen on this body, which is just the wildest thing possible. It was one of those really strong memories that I have from the Voyager encounters. But that's what it was like. That's what it's like when you explore a body in a solar system, I presume any solar system, for the first time. That's what Voyager did.
So the deeper science that's in what you just said is because Titan has an atmosphere, there's air pressure that will allow nitrogen to sustain a liquid state. So if you have very lower and lower and lower air pressure, the range of temperatures over which you would find liquids becomes narrower and narrower and narrower. And so this is only because it's got an atmosphere that can sustain this, isn't that correct?
Yes, and it's also cold there too. I mean, that helps. But there's pressure and temperature, as you just said. If the pressure is great enough, then it will prevent evaporation. Which is, yeah.
Right. We actually have microphones. We put the mic. There's one there, and one there in the aisles. So I'm going to ask one or two more questions, and we'll open it up for questions from you.
Let me just wrap up the story I just told you. We did find if there is.
By the way, who were you on the Starship Enterprise? You Janeway?
I don't know. No, not that. I have been on Cassini. I've been kick-ass on Cassini, but not graduate
at the
student.
time, right.
At the time.
Okay, so you would have been at like Tyson or something.
I don't know what. I don't know those names. Private and tonight. So just to wrap this up, it turned out that was a preliminary reading of the radio occultation signals. There was no liquid nitrogen on the surface. It wasn't that cold, but there were indications that the environment could be cold enough for liquid methane. So liquid methane was on the brain. The possibility that Titan was covered maybe with an ocean of liquid methane was on the brain of those of us who designed and planned and executed the Cassini mission. And if you paid any attention at all to what we did on Cassini, you will know that it took us a while. We were very puzzled when we first got there. There didn't seem to be any liquid methane anywhere, but we eventually found out that the liquid methane on Titan has gone to the poles. It's there. It's really present in the northern hemisphere in the form of seas and lakes. There's in fact... Rivers. Oh yeah. You can see there's a body of liquid methane in the northern polar region of Titan that if you scale Titan up to the size of the Earth would be the size of the Mediterranean. And people don't quite know yet why there is so much liquid methane on the surface, but it's a very exciting possibility. And so people now, in thinking about what we'll do in the Saturn system with the next mission or missions, are thinking of things as wild as dropping a boat in a sea of liquid methane on Titan. I mean, wouldn't you like to be like a pirate on a ship in the space? You make a great pirate.
I was wanting to say, so there was some comments at the time when this was learned that imagined NASA accidentally lighting a spark and then all the methane is a highly flammable gas. If we all live in the city and you don't have an electric stove, it probably is a methane gas stove. So no one was concerned that NASA would accidentally ignite Titan.
No,
They garage for the moon.
no, because while there are things that the Earth's atmosphere and Titan's atmosphere have in common, the one thing it does not, well, there's several things they do not have in common. And Titan is suffused with some simple organic materials like methane and propane and so on. And that is, it has native organics, and the native organics on the Earth are all gone. And also there's no free oxygen in the atmosphere of Titan. Without oxygen, things don't burn. They don't combust. So it's, you know, we don't have any problem with the possibility that we would burn up Titan. But it certainly would add a meaning to the term global warming, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so if you go to Titan, you just kind of breathe on the lake. You could ignite it. Yeah.
Oh, it just would be freaking cold. It's 300 degrees below zero Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so I have other concerns.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Why don't we go, can we bring up the house lights a bit? And we'll go to the audience here. Can we bring up the house lights? I can't see anybody. So do we have people lined up? We got the first one right over here, yeah. What you got?
What do you
summer,
think?
by the way, happy summer.
Thank you. What do
What
you
grade
think?
are you in?
I'm going into ninth grade.
Ninth grade, cool, thanks for coming today.
What do you think of the possibility of single-celled organisms or micro creatures such as tardigrades surviving underneath the ice layer on Europa?
Okay, so we don't know as much about Europa as we do about Enceladus. But what we've learned about Enceladus, because we've been there 13 years with a very robust spacecraft, is that it checks all the boxes of what are considered the formal requirements, the formal basic requirements for a habitable zone. We don't know that about Europa, but I'm willing to guess, speculate that Europa is the same. That it has organic materials, it's got a large ocean, there's enough tidal energy to keep the ocean liquid. On Enceladus, we've even found some evidence for hydrothermal activity that exists on the seafloor of the Earth, for example. So it could be, it's not impossible at all, it may even be likely that there are organisms, life has evolved on the seafloor in the ocean of Enceladus, and so therefore it's possible that it's happened on Europa too. We don't know that for sure though. It could be as dead as it gets, but we do want to find out. Tardigrades are a bitch a little bug that you brought to the world talking on Cosmos. They seem to be indestructible, those things.
Well, let me reshape this question. If we took tardigrades and put them on the ocean, could they survive there?
Well, we don't know what there is to eat. That's it. You know, we know the basic requirements. We don't know.
Tardigrades don't need to eat. They survive everything.
We'd like to know more about it, so I'm not going to answer that question yet.
Plus, every image I've seen them, they look pretty chubby. So they're just right, you see them? They're just cheeseburgers or something down there. I don't know. Let's go over here. Yeah. What grade are you rising into? Fifth grade. Cool. Thanks.
In these types of missions, is there any purpose in sending people out, or could machines just do it?
Well, we've proven that you don't need people out there. You just need spacecraft that can be built to be what we call autonomous, which means that they encounter a problem, the kind of problem that we could predict, and then build into them an appropriate response. Then you don't need people to conduct them. And also, if you send people out there, you'd have to worry about how to keep them alive and getting there. The spacecraft would be so much more massive, it would take you forever to get out there. And it's not clear that they would be useful. There may be a time in the far future when there'd be a need to go out there. Maybe humans in, I don't know, 100 years from now, we'll be going to the Enceladus Interplanetary Geyser Park and extreme vacations or something like that. But right now, where we are in the exploration, the scientific exploration of the outer solar system, you don't need robotic spacecraft do an adequate job.
Plus, people generally want to come back. So.
How do you want him up? He's happy.
Do you think he will put himself on his first ship to Mars? I don't think so.
We'll see, we'll see.
I've said publicly that I'll go on his ship to Mars after he sends his mother. Yes, over here, sir.
Hi, the moons of the giant planets are so diverse. Shouldn't they be uniform? Like Titan seems so unique in its structure and the atmosphere compared to the other Saturnian moons. Shouldn't they be more uniform?
Well, Titan is bigger and mass makes a difference. You know, mass alters pressures in the interior, the kind of materials you have in the interior, the states that they're in determines, in effect, what happens on their surfaces and gives the appearance of one or the other. You know, like Venus is a very, very heavily cratered moon. Nothing's happened to it tectonically. Right next door is Enceladus, about the same size. We're not quite sure right now. The difference probably has to do with the amount of energy being pumped into Enceladus by tidal forces, and also because it's in a resonance with Dione. There's lots of other factors that go into determining what moons look like. And you know, those are the kinds of things that we learned by sending the Voyagers there, and then also Cassini and Galileo and so on. So we share your surprise. We thought the moons in the outer solar system would be homogeneous and about as boring as they get, and they're not. They're all unique worlds. And they all have their...
We have a dead moon, so we thought everybody else would have a dead moon. Everyone around we have like the most boring moon among all the moons in solar. That ain't right, you know?
So, anyway, it's just been fabulous. It's you know, allowed us to contrast and compare and learn what is, you know, essential in the formation of moons and what is contingent, and that's, you know, that's why we're in this business, to learn this.
So if Enceladus were our moon, we'd be watching geysers every night. And it would make like a ring and everything around the Earth. It would be way cooler around the moon than
Yeah,
that.
it would be. And then it'd be easy to go there and just check out a buzz garden.
Yeah, see if there's target there.
Of course, that we probably would have tardigrades there because, you know, things exchange. The beauty about Saturn, that it's so far away, the chances that material from the Earth ended up on Enceladus is negligible. So there's benefits to finding it out there. Let's leave it where it is, okay?
Oh, we'll keep going. Carolyn, do you think we can answer questions in like half the time? Because it's twice as many people. Okay.
You want to sound
And I
right?
think people really do want to see your face.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you.
These lights are so bright.
Yeah, because you're on a stage. So here's what you do. Even if you can't see them, just pretend you can. We'll take the next person. Yes, over here, sir.
This question might be a little bit out there for a soundbite answer, but I was wondering if Voyager would have traveled long enough that it would encounter a black hole and it would turn around and take a picture of our universe. Due to time dilation, it would watch the universe end. With the space-time that it enters...
You write like science fiction films?
Would the universe or space-time that it enters be space-time that exists after ours or at the same time as ours?
Oh wow, Neil, that's one for you.
Yeah, so if it's falling into a black hole, then it's in a different sort of time frame relativistically, and it will see the entire future history of our universe unfold before it.
That's true.
Yes, and yeah, because its time will slow down relative to us. So we will watch it kind of freeze in place, and it'll watch us just sort of rapidly proceed, and trillions of years will go by in moments for it as it descended into the black hole. And so we obviously wouldn't be around for it to send signals to. So I don't know who you're thinking it's going to talk to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Zach's over here.
I have what might be a semi-sensitive question, because at the time the Voyager missions began, there were 9 considered planets. And
I love questions like this.
so, I mean, I know science changes, we learn new things, but at the time, was it planned to go to Pluto, or was it just, and why?
If Pluto had been part of the lineup of objects that was presented with Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, I'm sure there would have been plans to do it, but it wasn't. And don't feel bad about Pluto not being a planet, okay? Because it never deserved it. It was a mistake.
It had it coming.
No, and I'm gonna, can I take a stand on this? I want to do doing what I gotta do. It really was the kind of thing where it was a misclassification, and it just lasted for 70 years because we didn't have, because no one looked in the place in the solar system, in the night sky, where they eventually found objects. I think the whole thing could have been settled a lot sooner. It just happened, no one looked where we found bigger objects. So,
Community can also.
okay, is that true? Okay, all right. So it would have taken a while anyway, but it's okay. It got corrected, and Pluto is no less interesting. And the things that you've heard about, the definition of a planet that's been proposed by the International Astronomical Union is silly because even if you put the Earth in the Kuiper Belt, it wouldn't clear out its zone. That's first of all wrong, okay? And it turns out that if you use the IAU definition, but you just put a point on it in the sense that you actually look at it in a mathematical sense, which someone at UCLA has done. His name is Jean-Luc Margot. Do you know about this paper? Okay, I'll send it to you. He's just done it beautifully. He has shown it just requires a certain definition, which makes perfect scientific sense. And if you do that, you see that everything that we now consider to be a planet, they're all in the same region of this space that is, this
A plot. Really.
a plot. Pluto is nowhere near, and he's even extended this to exoplanets and all the planets that the exoplanet people have found. He's categorized them, and most of them qualify as planets. So it's all very satisfying. The objects that are gravitationally dominant in our solar system and responsible for the architecture of our solar system are called planets, and Pluto just happens enough to be one of them. It's a member of the Kuiper Belt. And that's good enough. It's a Kuiper Belt object. Good, man. That's cool.
It's clear that the king of the Kuiper Belt, rather than being like the puniest of the planet. and by the way, a little bit of history here. Voyager was launched in 1977. 1978, we discovered that Pluto has a moon. And so the moon planet people say, hey, got a moon. Okay, hold our side. Once we knew it had a moon, you can then look at its movement with the moon. And better estimates came for its mass and its size. And only then did the size of Pluto settle out from the estimates that have been given to it ever since it was discovered. It settled out much smaller than anyone had ever presumed for it. In the Discovery article in the New York Times, when New York Times reported on the discovery in 1930, it asserted that Pluto was the size of the Earth. Because that's what we were expecting, some big planet X with gravity affecting things. And over the decades, the measurements were all upper limits for how big Pluto could be. We're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And there's a famous paper, I forgot what year, in the mid-70s, 1980. It plotted the estimated diameter of Pluto over time. And the title of the paper is The Impending Disappearance of Pluto. So Pluto, as you may know, has 1/5 of the mass of our own moon. That is no kind of behavior for a planet. I gave Carolyn an answer in half the time. Yes.
Do you think that the Voyagers will be helpful in discovering dark matter and dark energy?
No, I don't.
The next question over here. So I can fill this out. Dark matter doesn't manifest on small scales like the solar system. It doesn't interact with itself, so it doesn't make solid objects. It doesn't interact with us nor itself. So it just kind of hovers in these huge areas, of these huge volumes of the universe, moving around in these tiny areas, star to star.
You gotta have the time you take to answer
No.
that.
Yeah, so no. Good question, though.
I'm I'm a PhD student in industrial engineering and operations research at Columbia, and during my research I've looked into potentially working for companies like NASA or SpaceX, and I found that you are required to be a US citizen or have permanent residency, which I do not have as an Australian. So my question...
SpaceX is run by
Microphone.
SpaceX is run by someone from Australia. You can't get a job there?
The jobs that I can apply for anyway.
Okay.
So my question was, how can the international community at large contribute to space exploration when facing these sorts of barriers?
I got a good answer.
Okay.
Yeah?
That's good. I give you permission.
Yeah, thank you.
The man who knows his place.
Our very space program was birthed on the intellectual capital of a person who's essentially German. Werner von Braun was not born in the United States, brought here after the Second World War, and birthed our space program. If you look at the principal scientists in the Manhattan Project, all but one of them were educated overseas for the PhD. And most of those were non-American citizens at the time they came over. The very establishment of the United States as a scientific power, if you will, a scientific leader in the 20th century, came on the backs, intellectual backs of immigrants. Not only that, immigrants average decade by decade, according to the census, plus you can uptake it by illegal immigrants to get a number, has averaged about 10% of the population since the beginning of the 20th century. 10%. Now you can ask the question, of Americans who have won the Nobel Prize in the sciences, what percentage of them were immigrants? 1/3 of American Nobel Prizes in sciences have been won by immigrants. So, to the extent that immigrants are 3 times represented in major discoveries on our soil than they are even in the population. So here's what's happening. If we start closing off our borders, if we start having xenophobia on the premise that if you're not American, you are to be feared, then America will take a nosedive. Because we're certainly not training our own citizens to do that. And our own citizens are fighting arguments on Twitter about whether or not Earth is flat. Okay? So America will nosedive. And I'm imagining there's some point where everyone sort of wakes up and says, what have we been doing? And I'd like to think that we will reverse every one of those trends that put us in the toilet and reclaim our place as the destination for the smartest people in the world to come to manifest that intelligence. And so I can only apologize to you that after you get your PhD, there might not be work here for you, because you would benefit and we would benefit. And what it means is other countries who don't have the xenophobic attitude, they're going to collect all the smart people, and we'll stand on the sidelines watching them discover the future, as we call that. So quickly,
Okay, so if aliens aren't...
Cool haircut, by the way.
Thanks. If aliens aren't the same as us, why are we looking for water on planets if aliens might not need it?
Yeah.
You need water? What do you mean you don't need water? Are you an alien? Well, we need water, so that's...
He's saying if aliens are different from us, why presume they need water?
Oh, I thought he said if aliens are the same as us. Well, you know, that's an important distinction. We are in the space business looking for life essentially as we know it, because that's the easiest form of life for us to discover now, because it's the only one we really know now how to recognize. And when you conduct a space mission, you're putting an instrument on a spacecraft and you're sending it far away, you can't call it back into the shop to tweak things. You know, you just take your best shot. Right now, that's our best shot. But I will say, the whole idea of looking for life is very important to me these days after what we found at Enceladus. I want to just put in a plug here. After the Farthest, which is airing on PBS August 23rd, there follows a 20-minute episode called Second Genesis, and I am the subject of it, and in this documentary I go interviewing people to understand how we should go about searching for life, and I've gotten into this a bit, and I know that there are people coming up with ideas for how we would look for a universal biosignature. That means something that we could say, if this exists, it means there must be life in this environment, and we don't know what its biochemistry is. It could be water-based, it could be something different, but that's irrelevant. It still could indicate life. So we are thinking like that, but the best chance we have right now is to look for water-based life.
I think it crawls out of a hole. It's a lie.
I say the same thing. If I showed you a picture of a moving bug, a video of a moving bug,
We're good to go.
we're good to go.
There's a New Yorker comic where there's a crashed alien saucer in like the Mojave Desert, and there's this alien crawling in the desert saying, ammonia, ammonia. Over here, yeah.
First and foremost, my mom says hi. My mom's right to say that.
Okay.
My question is, if you could add anything to the golden record, what would you add?
Oh, I would have had a Beatles song.
Crazy Beatles fan, right here.
So, very sane, wise.
Which one?
I don't have a favorite. Okay. Oh, which song? Oh, which song?
They didn't send a Beatles on the way. A Beatles song.
I thought you were saying which Beatle is your favorite. Oh, well, you know, there is this myth I found out only recently. It wasn't really the case, but I had learned over the years that they wanted to send "Here Comes the Sun," and that they were denied the rights to do that. In fact, I guess it never came up that they were going to send the Beatles song at all. But maybe it's because I know that myth that I think "Here Comes the Sun" would have been a beautiful little song to send, especially since it refers to the sun.
You want me to answer that
Oh, yes,
as well?
please.
Well, if I were to pick a Beatles song, I'd probably choose Imagine. That one just, I like that one.
It's not
But,
a Beatles song, but really
did
good.
I say? Oh, John Lennon. Okay, sorry.
What do you know?
I would say, who would have thought? Certainly not I at the time it began, but it's missing hip hop.
Yeah.
So we should probably add that, because it's not only just a genre of song, it is a cultural expression beyond just being a genre of music. So that would round out the Beethoven and the Chuck Berry. Over here, yeah.
My question is similar to the young man over there.
So then we're done with it. Okay.
So through our couple billion years of evolution of carbon-based life, with our own information sharing molecule DNA, we developed what we call intelligence. And so how do we know that other than the knowledge of that, it would be some form of organic species that on another planet, millions of light years away with their own separate evolution, we would know what to even look for or recognize as something that we would call life or what we define as intelligence?
Well, this is the problem. It's a thing. If you sit and think about it and think about how you would go about doing it in a logical, scientific fashion, checking along the way, making sure you've got your arguments all well formed. So if you do find this, it would mean this. If you found it at this level, maybe it would mean that kind of thing. It's difficult to know, but when I say that people are trying to understand what would be a universal biosignature, I mean, what would it be that you could find where you could say, I can't tell you what kind of life it is, but you could only see this if there were some kind of life on this object. Some things are, so how do you go about doing that? Should I go into this or should
No.
Okay.
Well, just do it quickly.
Do it quickly.
Yeah.
It's hard, people can't even agree on what the definition of life is. But life is a process that thrives on disequilibrium and produces disequilibrium. So the idea is look for something like oxygen in the atmosphere of an exoplanet that is so abundant, it's seriously out of disequilibrium with its environment, and maybe that indicates that there could be life there. The problem with that is that there could be some kind of other abiotic process that produces that out of equilibrium. So it's always a dicey thing. I think my colleagues think I think my colleagues think I'm a little nutty, but I'm thinking we should be sending microscopes. And literally, I mean it. If we could return a picture or video of a bug that moves, we might not know anything about its biochemistry, but you'd get hardly anybody to disagree that that was alive, because cells are also a feature of life.
We also mentioned intelligence. I like to think we're smarter than ants. Does an ant know that it's in an ant farm that you have on your table? And because we are sufficiently smarter than an ant that we create a world for it, which is living. So maybe we've been visited by aliens and they made us all their pets and created an earth for just their entertainment, and we would never know. If they're smart enough, it's not even about can we have a conversation with them, because their simplest of thoughts would transcend our most complex of thoughts. Okay, I want to get to all y'all, so let's go right here.
All right, hi. Just saying, I love your part in African American biologic element. Shout out.
Were you in a movie?
No, it was a song in his Everybody Else.
By a hip-hop artist.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Wearing his merch, but okay, whatever.
Did you sing it?
No, he just like did a little speech, like that. Like, you're not a car, you're not. Okay, sorry.
I played job.
Okay.
You gotta hear the album.
That's a natural part to me.
No. Don't confuse me with Morgan Freeman.
Anyway, do you think that there would be any better like ways of communication other than the golden records, or do you think that for that time that was like the best way to like show aliens or?
Well, that was something that was an artifact put on a spacecraft. Like, there have been people who wanted to communicate via, radio telescope to the universe. Frank Drake started this with what's called the Arecibo message. The Arecibo telescope is in Puerto Rico. It's the biggest, most powerful telescope, radio telescope that's ever been built.
Until 6 months ago, when China built one 50% larger.
Okay. So what about its transmitter? Does that exceed the Arecibo? No.
If they want to put a transmitter on it, they'll do it.
Okay. Well, anyway, so this brings up an interesting issue. So he did it to test the new system that went online, and as he's into this kind of thing. He just crafted a message and sent it out with the radio telescope. And I wanted to do this over again. I kind of do these funky things, and I wanted to do it over again. I collected a group of advisors together. I got agreement from the then director of Arecibo to do the Arecibo message over again and make it a message to the Milky Way. If you Google "message to the Milky Way" with my name, you'll see the website that we put together about this. But since then, there has been this group of people who are interested in promoting the idea that this is a terrible idea, and we are endangering the Earth to give anybody any indication of where we are. And I find this to be, excuse me for saying this, maybe I shouldn't say it. Should I say this?
Just go for it.
It's New York.
It's New York.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think this sounds like the vision statement of the National Rifle Association. We have to be so worried about this. We shouldn't, advertise our whereabouts. And by the way, let's just arm ourselves to the teeth in case any, aliens come knocking on our door who want to do us harm.
Okay, Carolyn, would you give your email address to a stranger in the street? Yeah, that's enough.
No, I give it all the time.
All humans on Earth to aliens.
I give it all the time. It's on my website.
Oh.
Look, they haven't been here. There's been, 13.8 billion years of cosmic evolution. We're still here. Nothing bad has happened. I think we are a far, far greater danger to ourselves than any organism.
almost done here. Yes, go.
In the future of space exploration, what are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about going in search of life because I really think that we've learned so much about the bodies, at least in the Saturn system from Cassini, that we really are in a position to, with the next mission, do something serious in searching for biosignatures. Carl Sagan said years ago that his generation was, really ready now to go and search for life. Well, we are really, two really's, ready now. We're like right at the edge, and I want to see that happen before I die.
Really? Right here, let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Voyager is now, and how long would that take?
Wait, say that again?
Sorry. Do you think humans could ever get to the point where the Voyager is now, and how long would that take?
You mean overtake Voyager? I don't think so. It's got such a head start on us. And remember, you send humans, and suddenly you're looking at the Starship Enterprise. You're not looking at a little machine that's no bigger than a Volkswagen. So that takes a lot of energy. So we'd have to be super duper advanced over what we are now to pull something like
She
that.
meant a Volkswagen Beetle. You said Volkswagen, but they make bigger cars now.
Oh, they do. Okay, I forgot. I don't think I'm thinking of the little Volkswagen.
Right. I figured that. Yeah. But it would be cool the day we can overtake it. We just see it right there. In fact, there's a scene in Cosmos where we're in the ship of the imagination, and we do pass Voyager and do a little double take. Real subtle, but I don't talk about it. Yes. Wait, how old are you?
8.
You're 8.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for coming.
What was there before the Big Bang?
Yes.
They also
Oh, yeah.
No.
That question gets asked all the time.
Next you should ask them, what's the meaning of life?
So I'm delighted I have an answer for you. We have no idea. Yeah. It's a frontier of scientific investigation. And if we don't figure it out by the time you get your PhD, then you're going to figure it out. We're asking that question.
So is it possible to take like microbial life and put it on a habitable place or a habitable planet, like maybe Europa or like the poles of Mars, and maybe artificially evolve it?
That's a great question. And of course, we don't know if earthly life could so easily adapt to a foreign environment because we're not really completely sure what's there besides the basic requirements, which are pretty spare. But I'll have to tell you something though. NASA goes through a lot of trouble to prevent that from happening. Because we want to find life as it evolved there. We don't want to screw it up and take germs from the earth and put them somewhere else and then find them and say, oh my God, look, there's life here. When it really was life that we brought with us. So that would be cool.
In fact, that's why you're plunging
That's why
Cassini into Saturn.
to make absolutely sure that Cassini never runs into Titan or runs into Enceladus, which are 2 prime targets we want to study in the future.
In case somebody had sneezed on it at JPL before it was launched.
Yeah, our tardigrade got stuck on it. And
Right, so then in 1,000 years we go and discover the flu virus on it.
We come up, that would really screw things
No,
all up.
totally mess it up. Yes, sir.
How's it going? My name is Nelson Wilkins.
I know.
I'm a computer information systems major. I was just wondering.
And you're also a radio announcer.
It's honored to.
You're a classical music radio announcer. NPR. Yes.
I've actually been wondering what inspired you to in astrophysics.
I think that's right.
Yes. Oh, inspired me? I first visited to the Hayden Planetarium when I was 9 years old. My parents would take me and my brother and my sister each weekend or every other weekend. I grew up in the Bronx to various cultural institutions of the city. Art museum, zoo, this museum, even other places where adults would express high expertise or talent. So it could be an opera, or a musical play, a sporting event. And I just thought these were outings, but in fact, this was an exercise in exposing us to what we might want to be when we grow up, beyond just the doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. And by age 9, I think I was called by the universe. I have no other way to explain it. I'm sitting there, the lights dim, the stars come out, and I just thought it was a hoax, actually, because there were countless stars on the dome of the Hayden Planetarium. But I'd seen the night sky from the Bronx, like 12 stars. I went along with the hoax, so yes, and that is the institution for which I now serve as director. And that story plays really well in a small town, but in New York, no one can really do it. We have a last question, yes.
Oh, that's you. So it's gotta be good, right?
No, the answer has to be good.
Yeah, the answer is good. Okay. First of all, how cool is this? I'm sorry, welcome into school. I'm sorry, it's cool. Alright, I know just a few minutes ago you were talking about how there are people out there that totally dispute scientific discoveries and the things that go on out in our universe and everything like that, flat earth society, people that think the moon is hollow, all that stuff. With all of these discoveries pouring in, like that, everything that the Voyager has seen and taken pictures of and shown us all, were there people out there during that time that were going after NASA and saying, you shouldn't be doing this. This is not good. And how did NASA handle people like that? I mean, were there protests or
In the
people?
room, in the back, right? I don't, okay, so I'm trying to think during the Voyager days if there were any big detractors, is what you're saying.
Yeah, were there
And complaining about money being wasted. I'm sure there's always been people thinking that spending money on space exploration is a big waste. Some of my in-laws are like that. And I mean, my brother's in-laws are like that. So, and I don't know, there'll always be people like that, I guess. I just look at it in a statistical way. As long as the numbers of those people are small, they're entitled to their opinions. When, they're finally gotten control of the government that they become scary. I can't remember anything in particular about it. I mean, we have people today still who think that we never really went to the moon and it was all put on. And what are you going to do with people like that? There'll always be some of those. There'll always be. It's just now it's so easy for everybody to air their opinion that they can be heard by some segment of the population. So I don't know the answer. Do you have an answer?
I have 2 bits of insight, I think. One is, we live in a time now where you have a crazy idea, and you just type it into Google, and you'll find everyone else with that same crazy idea. And you will be deluded into thinking that your idea is legitimate, and 2, that you have massive numbers of people who support it. In an earlier day, you would have these weird ideas alone. So I don't know that there are more people today than in the past, but there's certainly better, they sound one another. Right? So that's 1. 2, NASA has 10 centers scattered across 8 states, and on average, half vote blue, half vote red. So NASA employs in a highly politically diverse environment. And for that reason, you may have individuals who say, why are you spending money up there and down here? But that never amasses to huge movements to get rid of NASA entirely. It was one of the most intelligent things ever done at the formation of NASA, to make sure that the entire country would be a participant in this adventure and not be the privilege of one state or another. As it is, Texas and Florida are 2 very important politically to two very important states, have the two major NASA centers, Johnson and the Kennedy Space Center. So, resistance to NASA never gets very far, if for no reason than for that. Carolyn, Porco.
I wish I recorded the whole thing.